our first speaker, he will be doing the educational, he will be educating us. That is why we do not have an evaluator for him. And it is Pieter Roos who will be educating us about preparation and practice. Please help me to welcome Pieter to the stage. Is it a stage or
a speaking area?
A speaking area. Please help me to welcome Pieter to the speaking area.
Sometimes the best way of learning to do something is first to learn what not to do. So I learned the hard way that if you keep bees, don't dress like this with a little jacket on top. Kind of lands you nicely, you end up with near-death experiences and stuff. It was a good introduction to beekeeping. So I learned some lessons the hard way. Also learned that if you put your Pepsi in the top box, riding here, it's going to splash out all over you. And there are many other reasons. If you're a boxer, you learn to defend your face, because as Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face. So last week I attended a speech competition, not a Toastmasters one, I tried something else. And one of the pieces of feedback I got was actually positive from a Toastmasters perspective. And one of the judges said to me afterwards, "You're a bit Toastmasters in your approach." So the kind of things that Seth have told me about being more animated and vocal variety and all those things are actually rubbing off. So that tells me that a year of Toastmasters is actually teaching me stuff. And I'm picking up on that, even though some other people are having a different view of that. But there are certain things you pick up over the years, and there are certain things you pick up by being active members of a club. And that's why it's good to see new members here. A year ago I was you, and I've learned a lot in the process. A year or two ago your daughter was me, and she learned a lot in the process, and she's a different young lady now, able to express herself and to actually get a message across. There are many aspects to doing a presentation. You have to select a topic, and you need to understand your audience, and you need to write the thing, and there are all sorts of different things. But the aspect that I'm talking to tonight is preparation and practice. So I'm assuming you know what you want to talk about, you know whom you're going to present this to, and you've kind of got a speech together. So now you need to figure out how you're going to bring this thing across. And the first thing is, earlier tonight you might have seen in the group, Stefan was saying, we haven't got tables, we need to make a plan. We've got one table and lots of chairs. So somehow these things manifested. He stood here and he manifested some tables, and now at least we have tables. But if you don't have that, you need to know how to engage with the room. Because before you meet the people, it's actually a good thing to get into the space and to understand this is how much space I have to move on. I'm standing on a little Farochi podium thingy here, and I need to focus not falling off. Where do I enter this thing? Where do I step off? What can I do? How far can I move inwards without losing the people next to me and behind me? So I don't speak to one or two people and leave others alone, or turn your back on some others as I've done in the past and I've been reprimanded for. So these are all the kind of things that you learn about reading the space. So will I have a lectern? Will I be bound by the lectern? Am I going to use notes? What's the floor like? What's the area like? Are there tables? How far am I from the people? Am I standing far away, in which case I might need a microphone, or they won't hear me? Am I speaking to 75-year-olds who might have hearing aids? So I can't rely on my voice only to carry. I might need a microphone, or I might need to think about the audience and about ways of making sure that they can all hear me and relate to what I'm saying. And I didn't look at when I started. So please stop me when I go. I'll check the lights. So the room and the infrastructure is the first port of call, and the first thing that you need to think about. Then things like air conditioning. You know, if it's a male audience, put it on 14 because they're going to want that. If it's a mixed audience, look at the gender balance. Pale faces like cold rooms as well. So look at the diversity in the group. and think about what will work for everybody. Because there are certain things that you pick up over time and that you will actually find makes a big difference to the room. So, aircon, and then visual aids. I don't like using PowerPoints. I don't like having too much of a dependency on decks and things like that, because I find, and when I lecture as well, I find that people sit and they fixate on the notes. They're trying to read ahead, or they get stuck on the slides. Try and paint the pictures in people's heads. Sometimes you can't get away from it. In some organizations, I used to work for an organization that want 5,500 words per PowerPoint slide. They want lots of detail in there. They want you to write your life story into every slide. I hate doing that. I mean, when I was at university, we were taught 7 lines per slide, and no more than 6 or 7 lines per line. So less is more. So first of all, think about the infrastructure you're going to deal with, and how will you have fans, will you have timers, will you have all sorts of things in the room. Then you need to think about the way you prepare for the speech, because having a speech and delivering the speech are two different things. Some people find comfort in memorizing the speech, and when you get stuck, then you get stuck, because if you can't remember that one word or that one sentence or that important metaphor, it actually trips you up and you can't continue. So you need to think about ways of, and that's another crutch word there, you need to think about ways of being able to carry the essence of the speech, but without being too bound by it. So if you need to change and if you need to be dynamic in the situation, that you can actually flow with it. When I started, I thought to myself, am I going to memorize all of these things? Don't. That's the first rule, because you actually get thrown in the evening and then you're stuck. So have a mind map, or have a basic layout, understand what you want to say, and then work with that, and the words will come. So the more you do this sort of thing, the more you'll actually be able to do that. So practice ideas are not words. Have the concept, have the essence of what you want to say. They also call it a mental draft of the speech. And then the important thing is make sure that you complete it. I was doing an exercise with my daughter for a motorcycle license a while ago, and she kept skipping. She made a mistake on the first part of the test exercise. She would skip the last step, and I was saying to her, you can do this first thing so well now, actually skipping the thing that's most difficult to you. It's like that photograph that you've all seen about the warplanes that came back and they had the bullet holes, and they didn't realize why the planes got shot down, but they actually reinforced the strongest part of the plane, or the least vulnerable parts of the plane, because those were the planes that came back. The ones that went down are the ones where the pilot took a hit through the cockpit, or where a motor was taken out. When they started looking at the planes that came down, they stopped reinforcing the strong bits. So make sure that when you rehearse it, you run through the entire thing, because if you stop after doing the introduction because you get stuck every time, you can have a perfect introduction, and then the rest of it's going to come across a bit wonky. Try and do that. Then the other thing that my daughter taught me is record yourself early on. Don't try and get to a point of semi-perfection before you start doing recordings. Record yourself, because when you play it back, so first of all, you take it much more seriously if you know you're recording yourself. It's a mental thing. So you're actually much more focused when you do that. You pay much more attention to what you're doing, and you can play it back to yourself afterwards. So we all have cell phones, we all have the ability to record ourselves and play it back. And you've got stands and lights and all sorts of things which I don't know how to use properly. Steph's going to teach that to me at some stage when I get around to him. But we have those things at our disposal, and we should actually be using them. And improve as you go. So one thing I learned in our Toastmasters contest this year, at the club contest, and then I brilliantly decided to change my speech, and I actually delivered a completely different speech. And somebody came to me afterwards and she said to me, "Why on earth did you do this? It's no wonder you've got nowhere today, because you didn't continue to refine what you actually had." And what I did last week was I actually took a speech I did here a month or two ago, and I actually worked with that, and it actually turned out well for me. So keep on improving. Actually work with what you have, iterate, and try and make it better as you get along, because you build that confidence, and you actually It actually grows on you to do a better job. So don't try and just do it once. And then try and get feedback. So once you've made that recording, send it to somebody else. Ask that other person, what do you think? So Nazuka, what do you think? Leo, what do you think about the speech that I've done? And let people give you feedback. Because if you have that sort of preparation, that sort of input, before you arrive at the big moment, you're actually going to make a better job of it. There are many other things. So, for example, one of the things you find in nature, you'll find this little bird that's puffed up like this. And you think it's this gigantic creature, whereas if you took the feathers away, it would actually be a tiny little bird. Or a pufferfish that actually puffs itself up, or anything, an elephant flapping its ears. In nature, you try and try and present yourself as large as possible, because in that way, your enemies actually back off because they think you're bigger than you are, and you're actually more dangerous than your physique would suggest otherwise. Humans are the same. We're kind of programmed in a similar way. So if you take a couple of minutes before you walk into an important speech, go to the dressing room and lift your hands. Psychologically, it has a huge impact if you do this for a minute or two. You won't believe it until you do this. But you're puffing up your feathers, actually flapping your ears, and you're telling the world, I'm much bigger than you think. Don't mess with me. You must take me seriously. I'm a big person. Just by doing that. It's a silly hint, but if you start trying it, you'll actually see that it works. I've tested it before and it does work. So there's physical preparation. You need to read the room. If it's a bunch of old Afrikaans guys, you can have 2 at a time and put on a blazer. I once went to an outreach in Lesotho and I pitched up in shorts. And the first thing the person who was organising it told me is go and put on some proper pants. Nobody will take you seriously. They actually think you're disrespecting the meeting because you're a little boy. If you dress like that, you can't dress like that and be taken seriously. So read the room, understand what is acceptable and what's not. Revealing your arms or your legs, or not wearing a tie, or not wearing a jacket. If you don't understand the people in the room, and you need to actually try and provide for everybody, they're not going to listen because I'll be fixated on that guy wearing the t-shirt when everybody else is wearing a jacket. Then you need to think about material. You're going to use handouts. I'm going to use slides. I try not to, but if my organization demands that of me, I need to do it because they're not going to take me seriously. A lot of people want to take something away. They want to read it afterwards. Some people want a book that they can buy or take away or whatever the case might be. But as Annette said when we started, the most important thing, knowing the room, knowing the presentation, being confident in what you're going to say, is to have fun. If you're not having fun in the process, you're actually missing the whole point of doing what we are doing. And that's what's nice about this organization. It's a safe space. It's a space where I can dress the way I want, where I can talk on the topic I want. If I don't feel like making a speech in an evening, I can tell the Zuko I don't feel like doing it. But we're all doing a little something. And as you pick up new roles, you will actually enjoy it and you will actually see how you grow, because this is a place of growth. It is a safe space. Does anybody have any questions? Let's go.
If you go to a job interview, can you do that?
Yes, you must do it. Yeah.
Beforehand.
So what you do is
Beforehand.
yes, because if you're there, the other guy will think, does she want to attack me or something? But yes, absolutely. So anywhere where you need to kind of psych yourself up, go into the ladies' room and close the door there and stand there, and do that, or go outside and do that, because it's been proven that it actually helps you to be more confident in the moment. But absolutely do it, for sure. My daughter went for a job interview this morning. I don't know whether she did that. It was a virtual one, but it still helps, even if it's a virtual one. So, any comments? Anything anybody wants to add? We've got very experienced Toastmasters around the room. So that's why you told us time doesn't matter.
Yeah, I want to ask in your introduction, you said someone gave you feedback that you've been Toastmasterish, what is it that they're not liking about the Toastmaster presentation style?
I was becoming too animated.
Too animated.
Yes. And they didn't like it, but because in their organization, people are much more conservative.
So when you say read the room,
Yes, that's something I've learned, because in the next round, I need to apply that now. So they actually gave me, the guy gave me 3 really good tips, which I didn't know because I don't know their organization that well. So I've actually learned a lot. Like I learned through this last contest round, also picked up on quite a few things which I applied in this competition. Now he's given me feedback which I need to apply if I want to go through the next round, which is a much more difficult one than the first round.
Yeah, I want to mention that in the it's kind of an oratory contest in Afrikaans schools, redenaars they call it, of the Afrikaanse Taal en Kultuurvereniging, I think, that runs it. They actually apparently discourage and even penalize so-called excessive use of body language. So when my son participated in primary school, he was much more reserved. And actually, one of the girls that won, she actually was a really dramatic girl in the way she did things, and she did well. And he could have done more. What I read from that is that maybe we should just get to understand the things we think in Toastmasters work, but nothing is cast in concrete. And if you do it differently, just understand you're doing it differently. So gain an understanding of how to use all the mechanisms.
Excuse me, if I may add to what Bertus said, I'm qualified to judge eisteddfods. It is a different ball game, but from Toastmasters you gain transferable skills. In eisteddfods, for example, you need to stand very still. Only when it really counts, then you become animated. You are also allowed cue cards, A5, maybe smaller, never bigger, and ideally, if you're wearing a white shirt, this is too obvious. White on black, you can't see. You can clearly see this piece of paper. If this disappears slightly, it might be bigger, but this is just for example. And eisteddfods, it is a bit different. They do judge you a bit more, how shall I say it?
Rules are different. It's brutal.
Yeah, but you also don't get feedback.
I also want to know what I've seen in those contexts. The kids have these cue cards. They don't even refer to it, and they, like a robot, they move them on. It's quite obvious. I think it was Frances Boshoff that mentioned this. She was helping the kids to prepare speeches.
Time's up.